This is probably the dumbest challenge I've ever done. For some reason, I thought it would be funny to download a mod that randomizes everything in Pokemon Shield. Every trainer, gym leader, and every wild Pokemon in the entire game is going to be completely random, so you never know what you're gonna get. Oh, you thought you were fighting against Nessa's water types? Psych, you're fighting a Scorbunny now. You thought Leon's ace was Charizard? No, silly, it's clearly Arceus. Can I beat Pokemon Shield on a randomizer that is impossible to predict, with a whole bunch of rules on top to make everything even harder? Let's find out. We begin the game and choose our starter, but remember, everything is randomized. So instead of Scorbunny, Sobble, and Grookey, we have to choose between Horsey, Zorua, and Silicobra. Naturally, I chose Zorua because he is one of the sickest Pokemon of all time. I name our new king Kiddo because it can kind of transform like a Ditto when it evolves, but then I realized that abilities are randomized, so it doesn't make a ton of sense, okay? Sue me. Anyway, after punching my first Pokemon in the head for initiation, we make our way over to our first battle against Hop. Lucky for me, the random gods were merciful and start us against a Wynot who's weak to dark types. So after taking a few slaps, we get through our rival's first Pokemon. However, I can't say the same for Hop's second Pokemon, who turned out to be Cutiefly, which is very cute and very dangerous. I try to use Leer to boost my damage here, but I got a bit too greedy and lose my very first battle against Hop, of all people. It hurts. It hurts bad. We may be off to a rough start, but whatever, we can get stronger. From here, I travel through the spooky mist forest, farming some easy XP points until I try to damage the spooky mist dog, but I couldn't even touch him, so I close out my second loss by passing out in the middle of the forest. Thankfully, I wake up, or someone finds me, or something, and I make it back home. Then I meet up with Leon, who shows us how to catch wild Pokemon, so I use this opportunity to get a second team member, Sandile. I decide to name our reptilian friend Shades in honor of this guy. So now that we've got 2 Pokemon in Team Random, we go to fight a few more trainers. This time I drop kick a 9-year-old's Pichu, punch a Croagunk in the face, and bury a Seedot 6 feet below the ground, and oh my god, he's got a Cosmog. Thankfully, this thing is the weakest legendary Pokemon of all time, and before I knew it, we were meeting with Old Lady Magnolia. But I couldn't care less what this geezer was yapping about, because it's time for revenge. Hop challenged me to another battle, I of course accept, and we breeze through his new Nidoran no issue. And for some reason, next Hop sent out a Bronzor who's weak to dark types. I thought I'd breeze through this one too with the type advantage on my side, but I forgot Bronzor's defense is insane. I tried to Hone Claws to increase my attack as much as possible, but we end up getting too greedy and losing Kiddo. After swapping to Sandile, we're able to just barely win the fight on 6 hit points. Alright, another easy win for Daddy. Wait, there's another one? I forgot that Hop had 3 Pokemon at this point, so I just prepared to take the L here. But my man Shades only takes 2 damage from Happany's attacks, and at 2 health points, my boy wins the closest battle of all time. Please don't tell me you have a 4th Pokemon. Okay, good. After taking the Dubsky, we meet back up with the Old Lady Yapaholic and catch our 3rd wild Pokemon, Rowlet. I name him Roll for obvious reasons, then head through the wild area full of extremely scary big creatures. Cosmog again, get out of here! We barely escape the wild area with our lives and arrive in Modestoke to register for the gym challenge. But before we can do that, we're stopped by Team Yell. These battles weren't too bad. All I had to do was spam Home Claws with Kiddo over and over again, and I was able to steamroll past these grunts like the side characters that they are. We're getting pretty lucky with the Pokemon our opponents have so far. Hopefully that continues throughout the entire run. Yeah. After meeting Team Yell's Lord and Savior, my goth princess Marnie, I rush to the entrance ceremony, then of course battle Hop again on my way out of town. Once again, his team is just a bunch of stupid babies, so I end up winning our tiebreaker match like a boss. Then I set out on the next route where I navigate the fields full of living ghost chandeliers who spit hot fire and kept the win streak going by beating up some toddlers and a mailman who definitely looks lost. And at this point it felt like I was just destined to get stronger, because soon afterwards I managed to tame one of these spooky beasts that roam the area. After very creatively naming our chandelier Sia, after a certain copyrighted song, you'll have to use your imagination here, we battle some more random Pokemon until Roll evolves into a Dartrix. Soon, we're forced to make a pit stop in the mines, where none other than our next rival blocks the exit. Bede sends out his Chinchou, so I respond with my own Owl Boy roll. I laughed at the Draco Malfoy wannabe as Chinchou's endeavor doesn't even affect me, and we sweep through the Firefly no problem. Bede insists that he's just going easy on me, but I had an inkling he was just coping because we make it through his second Pokemon with only roll. I send out Shadys against his Grubbin, who surprisingly KOs my dripped out Alligator. But after a quick Ember from Sia, we one-shot Bede's last Pokemon, winning the battle there. After making it to town safely, we get ready for our first real test, the gym leader Milo. We snap a quick pick in town, then drop by the Pokemon Walmart where we get changed into our gym battle uniform and fight our first boss. We have a little trouble herding the sheep in the gym challenge, but eventually we get the animals back home and challenge Milo. Milo leads with a Ditto who isn't a grass type as you would expect, so I decide to help him out a little bit. Here you go, you can maybe transform into this, right? Oh yeah, movesets are randomized, so we can't even become a Dartrix. How embarrassing. Anyway, we go back and forth exchanging blows for a bit, but unfortunately Milo wins the first round, knocking out our Owl. Since we have that little rule where we have to use the same number of Pokemon as the gym leader, we swap to our only other Pokemon, Sia, and just to be sure, I Dynamax for the first time. After my Chandelier sends out a literal nuclear bomb against the little goo monster, Jesus, we're up against the grass type, Golduck. Milo responds with the Dynamax of his own, and pretty soon we're in full-on Godzilla v Kong mode. We go back and forth here until both of our Dynamaxes run out, but even after that, neither of us seem to be able to really hurt the other. His Golduck was determined to be a real pain in the neck though, and we end up losing. Taking the L here was very embarrassing because there are no thoughts behind those eyes. But we bounce back. For my next try, after getting through Milo's Ditto, I Dynamax roll instead. After another giant monster battle, we take the Dubsky against the first gym leader and earn our first gym badge. With the first major battle out of the way, I'm back to the open road. And after I sweep the floor with a couple news anchors, we encounter a Caracosta. I wasn't about to let a damage sponge go to waste, so I set my sights on catching him. But he was determined to not go easily. No worries though, if you couldn't tell, I have a lot of time on my hands. So after a while spent going back and forth with this sea turtle, we eventually snag him and add him to the team. I nickname him Turters and realize that this is a Pokemon that I think I have literally never had in any game ever. One of the most forgettable designs of all time. Fight me. Anyway, we make our way through the park, battling through another gang of Marnie stands who have literally nothing going for them until we eventually meet up with Hop to settle the score yet again. This time he has his own Zorora, literally get a life and stop copying me. We smack down that furball in no time, and soon we're on to his extremely scary Volcarona. But thankfully, this thing just sort of drowns to our slight drizzling of water. Apparently his last Pokemon is now a Poliwag, so after switching to Roll for a grass type advantage, we're able to finish the job with Sia. I guess even changing up his entire roster just wasn't quite enough to beat your boy. From here we continue across the bridge until we come across... Oh my god. Is that a Pikachu in a hat? That is literally the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Where did he get that? Did he go into a store and buy it with little Pikachu money? Where would he even keep his wallet? He doesn't have any pants. How would he purchase such a thing? Anyway, we try our best to catch this little genius, but we end up just having to murder it to keep our other Pokemon from getting any ideas about getting any clothes. From here, we carry our blood-soaked hands through the gym, defeating trainers who try to stunt on us along the way. I mean, Shiny Sandile, come on, get a life. We steamroll the trainers and carry our confidence to the next gym leader, Nessa. I start out with Turters against her Marini, but I end up swapping to Shadys to get a type advantage and Dynamax galore. We make quick work of our first and second Pokemon, but as soon as we get to her ace, things get kinda weird. You see, I didn't realize this until later, but for some reason, the randomizer I was using sometimes didn't randomize the gym leader's Pokemon's movesets. Obviously, Nessa isn't supposed to be using a Cinderace, and with this weird glitch, it made this fire bunny shoot out water, which was kind of hilarious. I don't know, maybe you had to be there. So after tanking a Max Geyser from Cinderace, we lose our Alligator Boy and swap to Turters. We managed to get a nice crit in, but Cinderace just keeps spamming Tsunamis against me, so we're down to our last Pokemon. I try to astonish Nessa's ace with Sia, but we're jump scared by another illegal move, and Razor Shell ends up one-shotting us, meaning we take another L. Alright, fair enough. Take 2. We get through Nessa's first 2 Pokemon with Slim Shady like before, until we get to Cinderace. We get one shot, but this time I saved my Dynamax until the ace, so it's big turtle time! We go back and forth throwing rocks at each other until it's time for the final move. I decide to get real disrespectful and end things with the Max Geyser of my own. Even though Cinderace has mastered the art of water bending, he was still weak to water because he's still technically a fire type, so after my big brain maneuver, we earn our second gym badge and officially defeat Nessa. With 2 gym leaders under my belt, I went over to fight Marnie. Oh, come on. This guy again? For some reason, this bead guy wouldn't leave me alone, so we use Sia and Turters to destroy his entire lineup. Then we navigate through this creepy cave where these clay doll are just kind of posted up, staring at me and everything else inside the cave all at the same time. Never realized how uncomfortable clay doll makes me. I mean, what even is this guy? What's the deal with all those eyes? I hate it. But we survive, and after that, we team up with Hop to take on the Pokemon equivalent of the band Kiss and their levitating rabbit god king Calyrex. Then we steamroll through this lady and her baby Meltan, and finally make it back to town for our next real fight against Marnie. I start out with roll against her Pancham, and despite Marnie using a Totem of Undying on her little bear, we still had Pluck, which is super effective. And even though Venoshock put us on half HP, we're able to clear out our first Pokemon. The same can be said for Clobbopus, who gets utterly obliterated, and finally we're on to Marnie's ace, Inteleon? After Roll faints, we swap to our water turtle boy, who throws some more rocks at the giant lizard, who fires back with an almost endless barrage of lightning attacks. I send out my last Pokemon here, beating Marnie with the power of Astonishment, which marks another W for Daddy Q. After a win against our third rival, it's time for our third gym battle. Thankfully, we get merciful spawns in this gym challenge, so we breeze through and face off against Kabu and his fire types, right? So, I send out Turters first to counter him, but you know that the game is all random, so of course he sends out Rabombi, and we get burned by a Will-O-Wisp from a bee on the first turn from the fire gym leader. This doesn't make any sense. We take another fire type attack here, but we're still a water type, so we make it through Rabombi with only a first degree burn. Next up is Hitmonchan, who uses Bite a couple times, and sensing danger, I swap to Roll. After going back and forth, we're left on 1 hit point by Flame Wheel, and we managed to barely defeat the second Pokemon with another Pluck. But just as Kabu was about to send out his ace, Roll dies from the burn damage. After Kabu sends out his Mamoswine, we bring out Sia and proceed to get big on him. We managed to both use Max Flare against each other, but the nerd forgot Mamoswine is weak to fire, and so it gets knocked out then and there, earning us our third gym badge. With 3 gym leaders down for the count, we set back out on the open plains, where we get hit with another evolution. This time our boy Shady's evolves into a Krokorok. That's cool, but you know, he could use a couple more levels. Why not? Whoa, 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 whoa. That's enough. That's enough. No, stop. Oh. Turns out the controller I was using was a little buggy, so I misclicked and accidentally fed Sandile 67 rare candies, giving him an extra 883,000 experience points. We may have gotten an extra evolution, but needless to say, he was just a little bit over leveled. So I guess we'll just box him until later. Alright, now that I was 1 Pokemon short, I had to find a replacement before my next gym battle, so it's back to the great outdoors. We try and fail to catch a Blaziken, which would have been pretty sweet. But you know what's sweeter than a Blaziken? A Terrakion. Which, we don't catch either. But you know what's even sweeter than a Terrakion? Yeah, not much. We cut our losses and navigate through the treacherous wild area, avoiding the flying mutant Lickitung, and battle through Route 6 to Stow-on-Side to get that nice fast travel location. Then we double back to the wild area where we come across a Naganadel. Naganadel? How do you say this? Alright, come here, you dragon bee monster. This time, we miraculously actually manage to snag another team member, and after naming our flying snake Naga, we go to increase our roster again by catching one of the strongest dragon types out there. That's right, we're about to have a Garchomp, baby. Well, technically, he's only a Gabite right now, but having old Chompy as part of the team was gonna be great one day. So now that I was thoroughly overpowered, we make our way back to Stow on Side to test out our newest dragons against our rival Hop. And even though he has somehow managed to catch the second Meltan that we've seen so far, he's still a bit of a pushover, so we defeat him, check in with the local baddie Opal, then headed to defeat the 4th gym leader. But before we can take him on, we're faced with our greatest opponent yet. Motion sickness. Luckily, before the gym, I had stocked up on Dramamine, and after we make it through Alistair's death trap of a gym challenge, we're challenged by the big man himself. I lead with Chomp against his Baniri, who we're able to bulldoze through no problem. After Alistair sends out his Hatterene, I switch to my Dragon Snake Bee thing to poison them out of existence. Next up is Alistair's Mandibuzz. I actually Dynamax a little early here, but whatever, we're able to stomp that Vulture into the Shadow Realm. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Alistair's last Pokemon, Raichu though. I'm lucky he didn't have any electric type attacks here because of the randomizer, but it was still tricky because we're only able to get one attack in while we're still Dynamaxed. Eventually our Sea Turtle gets KO'd right as Raichu loses Dynamax, so we're able to land a finishing blow with Sia, earning us our next gym badge. As our Owl Boy role evolves into a Decidueye, we make our way to our next rival battle. We end up rolling through Bede's team until... oh no. It's him. We kill this abomination with fire, destroy an ancient historical site, stumble through an enchanted forest, then it was time to catch another Pokemon. So we double back to the wild area where we continue our quest to build the most overpowered team imaginable and give catching Terrakion another go. But as we learned before, catching him was gonna be a bit tricky. This absolute beast almost wiped out my entire team alone. It ended up taking me 18 tries to catch him. 18! So after we finally caught Terry, we head back to the Enchanted Stadium to take on the local baddie herself. I lead with my 18 Pokemon Bulldozer against Opal's Hitmonlee. We manage to lose some speed here while her Fairy Wind gets big super effective damage on us, but my Mammoth is just built out of titanium or maybe rocks, actually, because we're able to defeat her first beast, only losing half of our health. Next is Opal's Vanillish, and after answering a rigged question, we land another Rock Slide with our boosted stats. Unfortunately though, after a super effective Draining Kiss, we lose our Legendary. So we switch over to our favorite turtle in residence, who's much more resistant to Vanillish. After throwing some more rocks at the floating ice cream cone, we make it to our next Pokemon, Clawitzer. This time I switched to a grass Pokemon to have a little type advantage, but Clawitzer's speed was insane. We end up losing our Owl Boy and swap back to Turters though, and with my back against the wall, I decide to Dynamax. Our first move goes well as we stomp the knockoff SpongeBob character, and finally we meet Opal's Ace. Oh, come on, again? Once again, we come face to face with Alistair's Ace that Opal stole after we beat him. So I waste no time at all pummeling him with multiple buildings worth of concrete. And at this point, you might as well start calling me Daddy Dubs with this win streak I got here. Am I right? Yeah, okay. Anyway, after closing out another win, it's time for another rival fight. So I head over to challenge Hop again. Dubwool? Dubwool? Huh. Not on my watch. I was surprised to see Hop actually using one of his actual Pokemon for once, but we kick him in the face with our Legendary just the same. With my Titan of Terror down for the count, I send out my Turtle Boy against Obama, and we clutch it out at half a heart. Nice. And after beating Alakazam, things get a bit interesting. Hop, where on earth did you get that thing? I guess I was just getting a taste of my own medicine here because I came face to face with another Legendary. Alright, gotta figure this one out, I guess. I switched to Roll, hoping I could chip away at the Ghost Horse's health, but I was nervous. Last time I faced a Legendary, I almost met God, so I had to be careful. Oh. Well, that was underwhelming. After one-shotting Hop's Ghost Horse and obliterating his Flygon, we take another dub. Wool. against our rival. Then we head through the platforming section of the game where we decide to add to our team of abominations by trying to catch a wild type null. Just like with Terry, it took me about 1,000,000 Pokeballs to catch him and my entire team got knocked out, but adding this weirdo to our team of misfit toys was totally worth it. After naming him Null, we make our way over to take on the next gym leader, Melony, but not before catching another complete oddball, Arctozolt. This might be the most messed up Pokemon design of all time, and it makes me think, maybe science has gone too far. I name our electric horror Brock, then get ready to win my 5th gym badge. I start out with Sia against her Lilligant, and we blaze through her first Pokemon easily. Next up is Appleton, so just to be safe, I Dynamax and attack with the Fury of the Gods. With 2 Pokemon down, I'm surprised to see the greatest betrayal of the run so far as she sends out her own Terrakion. But thankfully he's weak to water, so I send out Turturs. But Terrakion's ice-type moves are just too much for me to handle. I wasn't sure what else to do, so I just used Brock here, and we end up freezing the giant bulldozer to death, leaving only Melony's ace, Slowking? Sorry, sometimes these random Pokemon are just really bizarre. After sending out Null, Melony makes Slowking go Uzaru mode, and we tank a Max Geyser. We're barely able to do anything with X-Scissor, so we lose our legendary here, but we successfully stalled out Dynamax, so now we're on equal footing. But I lose another Pokemon to a giant tidal wave, and soon we're down to our Hail Mary Brock. But lucky for me, after taking a few crits, we end the fight with an Avalanche, barely squeezing out the win and our 6th gym badge. While exploring the Winter Wonderland, our rival Hop demanded another battle, so naturally we agreed. With 2 legendaries, we were pretty strong, so we make it through them without any major issues, but guess who's back again, baby? Team Yell. Yeah, we pretty much decimate these goofballs again, and look at this sick water bike, bro. Look at this thing. Whoa, I'm cruising. Come on. Look at me go. Yeah. Alright, I'm bored now. After my adventure in the North Pole, I get back to the level grind and come across a Conkeldurr. After busting out our legendary, I take the liberty of catching him and name him Conkeldonk. I also find a Golurk nearby, so I guess it's free real estate because I catch him too and name him the Iron Giant. Then finally, it was time for our next battle. This was a rematch against Marnie. To kick the battle off, I decide it's Conkeldonk time and she leads with the Musharna. Not wanting to lose our new friend to a Psychic type, I swap back to Sia, and I thought my chip damage was pretty good until Marnie uses a potion mid-battle. Okay, that's cheating. So unfortunately, Sia faints due to this incredibly fair mechanic, which means it's turtle time. Marnie's next Pokemon Slurpuff karate chops me out of existence, so it's back to Conkeldonk, who returns the favor. Finally, we find ourselves up against Marnie's Alolan Ninetales. I was a little scared at first because the typing was kinda weird, but we make it through the fight a-okay. With our victory near, we discover that Marnie has a special move she's been saving for this very occasion. What could it be? Wow, thank you, Marnie. Very cool. Now here comes the Giant Fist! After beating Marnie for the 2nd time, I go back to the Pokemon Center to evolve Kiddo. The only thing is, I think I fed him too many candies again because now he was over-leveled for the next gym. Oh well, back to the box then. But anyway, I was hungry for another Pokemon, so I spent a fair amount of time getting my cardio in, and eventually I encounter, oh my god, an Urshifu! Woo, oh boy! So I prepare to get my butt handed to me while I confuse the heck out of him. This time we do manage to catch this legendary boy way faster than the others, which was nice for a change. I named him Sifu after that one really hard video game. Sifu had an expert belt too, which boosts the power of super effective moves. This was gonna be really helpful down the line, but for now, just keep it in mind. Next, I keep up the Pokemon hunt by grabbing a Pokemon that I've literally never used before, Duraludon. Then I also grab a Fracture, a Litten, another legendary Heatran, and Celesteela, which I think is another one I've literally never used. And finally, with our updated roster, we're ready to face the 7th gym leader, Piers. So after scavenging around his secret hideout full of insanely acrobatic henchmen, we get to challenge the big man himself. He leads with his Malamar, and I send out Princess for the first time. But you know what? No, I can do better. It's Sifu time. Sending out the Karate Bear was absolutely the right call because we shred through Pierce's first 2 Pokemon, but then, oh no, he's got an Urshifu too. Psych, doesn't matter because the expert belt is freaking busted. Oh, nice bird you got there. Would be a shame if I decked it in the face. Yeah, needless to say, we completely rolled through that fight, so, on to Raihan, I guess. Our last gym leader was gonna be a little different, because for some reason, Raihan is special and gets to have his gym be a double battle. I get some practice in against some of Raihan's cronies, but I wasn't sure what to expect, so I just kinda started the fight without any plan. Raihan's openers are Tentacruel and Relicanth, and I start off with Selly and Roll. Lucky for me, Raihan started with 2 water types, so having a grass type out gave us a big advantage. The persistent Sandstorm was pretty annoying, but we managed to beat Raihan's first 2 Pokemon without taking too much damage. Next he sends in a Latios and an Aerodactyl, and I really didn't want to risk anything here, so I made sure to Dynamax. But even with its boosted health, Roll faints instantly against these super powerful foes. I decide it's best to use Turtles here, but we end up taking a giant punch from freaking Saitama twice, so the only thing I could do was keep attacking Aerodactyl. But turns out Selly is a god, using a super effective flash cannon to pulverize that overgrown dinosaur, so now all that's left is Latios. Come on, Selly. Win this for daddy. Unfortunately, Raihan gets the most insane crit on me, ending the fight with the craziest plot armor I've ever seen. So we're back to the Pokemon Center, ending our win streak and crushing my massive ego. Whatever. Let's try that again. I do basically the same thing as before, but I Dynamax right after I knock out Relicanth. With Big Bird on the scene, we're able to one-shot Latios, and now all we had to worry about was Aerodactyl. I managed to get some serious damage in while Dynamaxed, but I still needed some more firepower, so I call in my boy Sifu, and guess what happened? Get dunked, you big chicken! And with that, I got my last gym badge, meaning it was finally time for the Champion Cup. But before we're ready for our final gauntlet of opponents, we take a quick detour to make sure everyone's all leveled up, and I even made sure to evolve my Fracture. Now finally, with everything in place, I rode the train, traversed the desolate frozen tundra, defeated this doctor in his casual Kyurem, failed to catch a wild Jirachi, and passed the beautiful wild flying Grovyle as I slunk into our final destination, Winded. Once inside, I headed straight to the stadium to claim the champion title. But this wasn't gonna be easy. This game culminates with a huge tournament of super difficult, high-level battles that you need to defeat in order to claim the champion crown. So I prepared the strongest team consisting of the weirdest set of Pokemon I've ever had the pleasure of using, then headed in to face my destiny. My first opponent was Marnie. Like usual, I tried to maintain good type advantage here. I used Haxorus's Swords Dance to boost our already crazy attack and bash through a bit of Azumarill's health. Then we swapped to Roll to finish it off. Next was some stupid little monkey, so I switched to Princess to one-shot that Thwackey. Next she sends in Seismitoad, so I counter with Selly and almost one-shot it. I didn't have a clear response for her next Pokemon Audino though, except I'm completely lying because we've got Sifu, the GOAT! Finally, Marnie ends on Copperaja, and after we both Dynamax, I managed to one-hit KO that Copper Elephant, and the first win of the tournament is ours. My next opponent was none other than Leon's little pathetic brother. So to assert my dominance, I decided to try to sweep with Haxorus. After spamming Swords Dance a couple times, we slice and dice his Water Spider into nothingness. Next up is Torkoal, but it turns out I was still confused from Araquanid, and as I tried to one-shot it, I was so strong that I managed to knock myself out. At this point, I didn't know what else to do. I was pretty embarrassed, so I tried to use Turtles to counter Torkoal, and guess what? We end up one-shotting him just the same. Next up, he sent in Altaria, so I kept up with my Water Turtle boy. Turns out, all I needed to do was throw some rocks, and that was enough to kill this thing. Next into the ring was, another Pokemon that we already have. Why are you so obsessed with me, Hop? Get a life! I used Selly against Hop's copycat and give him the old Gigasuck. Then finally, all we had left was Mawile, which means it was time for another Kaiju battle. But after we exchanged blows here and there, it looked like someone Dynamaxed too early, and after another punch from the god himself, we earn another dub. With day 1 of the finals completed and my win streak reinstated, we catch wind of some evil stuff going down, so we head up to the top of Rose Tower to investigate. But just as we're about to go confront Chairman Rose or something, we get ambushed and forced into a battle by the chairman's crazy ex. She starts out with Mimikyu as I try to set up my Haxorus shenanigans. Unfortunately, we get badly hurt in the process, so we'll just call it a draw. From here, Tauros tries to dropkick me, but Sifu's got knuckles of steel and takes out this cow in a single blow. The same thing happens to her stupid Greedent, and soon we're onto her Gourgeist. I prepare a Spirit Shackle with Roll and get through that walking pumpkin easy peasy. Finally, we found ourselves face to face with their ace Togekiss, which comes in and oh, nice ability, I guess. It copies our Decidueye, and at first I thought I'd swap to get a type advantage, but you know what? No. Random Daddy Q doesn't back down to nobody. You are not going to intimidate me by copying my own Pokemon. So we both Dynamax our Decidueyes and Roll, the absolute MVP, clutches out the fight, winning us some sick clout, I guess. After beating Oleana, the chairman reveals his whole evil plan to everyone in the room, but nobody decides to do anything about it, and we all go to bed happy and healthy. The next morning, we wake up and it's the final day of the tournament, so I head out to the stadium to face my last rival, Bede. He starts out with Cutiefly, so I swap to Princess after Haxorus. With a single attack again, we burn through Bede's first Pokemon like it's nothing. Next up is Cinderace for some reason, so I swap to my Water-type Turtles and slap him in the face with some ice-cold water. With Miltank up next, I swap back to Haxorus and end the fight with a couple outrages. Finally, we're up against Bede's ace Scizor, so we both Dynamax, but I'm on the ropes after taking a single powerful hit. I was getting pretty scared, but it turns out Princess had it covered, and after another single attack, the giant lobster was burned to a crisp. After Bede comes Nessa and Alistair, and we basically use the same strats as before here, and their teams were also pretty weak, so we pull out a couple easy Ws. Now, after 3 back-to-back victories, I'm challenged by Raihan again. We steamroll through his Graplock and use Turtles to dispatch stupid Martin, but he fires back and Jirachi finishes us off, so it's roll time. After Spirit Shackle destroys this little god, we're up against a shiny Drifblim. Wow, cool. And after a quick Dynamax, we send that balloon to the Shadow Realm. The thing was that I Dynamaxed a little too early, so I knew I had to end this quick. I managed to take out half of his Ace Maractus's HP, but we're left on 12 ourselves. In the next turn, Raihan gets the first hit in and knocks us out. The good thing was that I had another Pokemon, so I could close out the fight, but this was definitely another deserved win. Now that I had broken through every wall that stood in front of Leon, I prepared myself for the real final battle. Oh, come on, man! Apparently Rose was trying to do exactly what he said he was gonna do last night. Definitely thought you were joking about that whole plan to end the world bit. Did not think you were gonna actually follow through with that one. So on account of all that, we had to delay the Leon fight a bit, and after meeting back up with the spooky dog in the mist, we challenged Rose to a boss battle with the world at stake. Like normal, I send out Haxorus until I realize I'd have a better time against his Durant with Princess, but oh god, he can one-shot us. So naturally, we return the favor with Sifu. Magmar's up next, so it's turtle time, but oh my god, will you please stop doing that? After Spirit Shackling the Fire Duck, we get through Sandslash and Kadabra until we're face to face with a Dynamax Ice Cube. We managed to use the same move against each other, but one is way more effective than the other, and we beat Rose fair and square. But apparently defeating Rose wasn't enough to stop the giant Ender Dragon from spawning, so, as usual, the fate of the world falls on the shoulders of a random 10-year-old and 2 dogs. Yeah, we step up against the great beast and dispatch him with the power of friendship, and ladies and gentlemen, that means there's only one more battle. Champion Leon. So I return to the stadium and face my final foe. Leon starts out with the Aromatisse, so I swap to Selly and use Flash Cannon. Turns out it's super effective, and we shave off half of his HP. After another shot, we get through Leon's first Pokemon. Next up is everyone's favorite, electric-type Lucario? So to counter, I use Sifu, but the lucky guy gets a Thunderbolt off, knocking me out. Alright, Keep calm, Quinn. I send out Princess and we're able to take this guy down without too much more hassle. Then his next Pokemon, Hippowdon, was probably the hardest team member yet, mainly because I didn't have a good counter to his Earthquake. But after some chip damage from our turtle boy, we're able to finish it off with Selly. Leon sends out Diggersby next, and this rabbit was definitely not ready for the power of our Giga Drain, and we managed to KO it while still at full health. After I send out Roll against his Swoobat, we finally meet Leon's ace, Charizard. Cursula! Anyway, we Dynamax and managed to almost beat Leon in one Phantasmic attack, but no! What? We lose our Dynamax Pokemon, but whatever. I can still fight. Thanks to Roll's insane damage as well as my entire team being simply cracked, we successfully land the final attack and defeat Leon. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, we've successfully beat Pokemon Shield with the entire game completely randomized. If you like this video and want to see more randomized challenge videos, check out this run I did on Pokemon Violet where I attempt a randomized Nuzlocke. Anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time.